What if everything you think you know about saving money is turned on its head the moment you step into the world of the ultra-wealthy? Welcome to Mr. Finance. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest financial paradoxes of our time, why the richest people on earth practically never park cash in a savings account, and why you might not want to either. Picture a billionaire glancing at a six-figure bank balance and treating it like yesterday's junk mail, tossing it aside to chase higher returns. It's a scene that feels counterintuitive, even reckless. Yet beneath that apparent wildness lies a carefully calculated strategy, one born in boardrooms and private jet cabins, honed by legends from John D. Rockefeller to Oprah Winfrey, and practiced by hedge fund titans most of us only read about in financial tabloids. Today, we peel back the curtain on the radical mindset that transformed them from cautious savers into daring wealth builders, and explore how you can apply the same principles to supercharge your own financial journey. When most of us hear saving, our brains go straight to piggy banks, emergency funds, certificates of deposit, and a trusty one interest rate that barely beats inflation. We're taught from childhood, save your pennies, clip your coupons, build that rainy day stash. And yes, a modest savings cushion can shield you from life's inevitable storms, unexpected car repairs, medical bills, maybe a lost job. But ask yourself, is that enough to make you rich? For the top 1%, the answer is a resounding no. Instead of letting cash sit idle, collecting dust and diminishing in buying power, they flood that capital into ventures, leverage it with credit, and compel it to multiply. Why? Because the true power of money comes not from holding on to it, but from sending it out into the world armed with a mission to solve problems, to fill gaps, to disrupt industries, to build legacies. That mission, in turn, rewards the capital handsomely. Imagine walking into a bustling investment conference in Las Vegas, where hedge fund managers in crisp suits trade high-stakes bets on commodities. Tech startups pitch for millions, and art dealers sell Picasso canvases for sums most of us will never see. In the foyer, you overhear a casual comment, "My bar has 30 million in cash right now, but I'll only keep coins in the till." This isn't arrogance, it's strategic. With inflation running at 3 or 4%, cash loses value out of thin air. Why not reallocate that money into something that grows, even if it carries some risk? That philosophy, in part, a rebellion against traditional saving, underpins how wealth multiplies across generations. Let's rewind to the aftermath of the Great Depression. Banking failures and stock market crashes shattered public trust. Governments responded by guaranteeing deposits and regulating financial institutions, cementing the ethos of safe saving in the public psyche. But as economies recovered, an elite subset discovered a different path, investing in real assets like farmland, factories, and emerging industries. Andrew Carnegie, for instance, didn't let fortune sleep in a ledger. He plowed it into steel mills and railroads, betting on America's industrial boom. Rockefeller funneled profits back into oil infrastructure, squeezing costs and crushing competition. Their secret wasn't hoarding, it was constantly redeploying capital into the next big frontier. Fast forward to the modern era. The digital revolution gave rise to founders who treated money like rocket fuel. Peter Thiel, co-founder of PayPal and early Facebook investor, famously declared, "I believe in strong opinions, weakly held," meaning he was unafraid to bet big, pivot quickly, and bet again if things went south. Elon Musk could have rested on his PayPal windfall, but instead he channeled billions into SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink. Each dollar isn't a line in a spreadsheet, it's a soldier on the battlefield of progress. Meanwhile, Warren Buffett, the sage of Omaha, quietly amassed his fortune not by piling cash in an account, but by living frugally and investing in companies he understood, compounding returns year after year. Last year, Berkshire Hathaway's cash hoard briefly topped $170 billion, yet Buffett held it only until he found attractively priced deals. He treats cash like a tool to strike swiftly, not a trophy to admire. Across these stories runs a current of relentless action. Cash is static, opportunity is kinetic. When Barron Hilton sold his stake in Hilton Hotels in the late 1980s, rather than sock the proceeds into a savings bond, he poured them into expanding the brand into Las Vegas and then into Caribbean resorts, anticipating the global tourism boom. Oprah Winfrey took early profits from her media empire and invested in Weight Watchers when it was teetering, transforming her stake into a multi-hundred-million-dollar windfall. Each time, massive returns weren't plucked from a savings account. They were earned by stepping into uncertainty, by leveraging insider knowledge, by making sure each dollar was on a mission. But let's talk mechanics. Saving in its truest sense means preserving principal, keeping money safe. Investing means risking principal in hopes of growth. A balanced strategy for most people will include both emergency cash for stability and investments for growth. Yet the million-billion-dollar question is never how much can I save, but where can I deploy this capital next? High net worth individuals deploy through private equity, venture capital, real estate syndications, hedge funds, structured debt deals, and sometimes art or collectibles. They devise tax-optimized strategies, 1,031 exchanges for real estate, opportunity zones, charitable trusts to keep more money in play. Meanwhile, a typical savings account at 0.5% annual yield yields nothing once inflation is factored in. Hold 100,000 for a decade and you'll find yourself poorer in real terms. Consider the story of a small-town carpenter named James who, after decades of diligent work, found himself with 250,000 in a high-yield savings account humming along at 1.5% interest. When he ran the numbers against 3% annual inflation, his nest egg was actually deteriorating by 3,750 each year. But when a friend convinced him to invest a portion into a rental property with a 7% cash-on-cash return, he began earning genuine real income. Over 5 years, the property not only generated rental cash flow, but appreciated in value. That difference between sitting back in safety and moving forward with calculated risk transformed his financial trajectory. Today, James is no overnight millionaire, but he's tens of thousands of dollars ahead where he once would have lagged behind. Of course, not every investment soars. Markets crash, businesses fail, and timing is as much art as it is science. But the wealthy absorb these shocks differently. They diversify across asset classes. They maintain lines of credit to seize opportunities during downturns. They enlist teams of expert, lawyers, accountants, fund managers to optimize every move. A tiny bit of prepared risk can dwarf the paltry gains of traditional saving. As billionaire investor Ray Dalio puts it, he who lives by the crystal ball will eat shattered glass. He advocates radical diversification, combining stocks, bonds, commodities, real estate, and cash in proportions that protect downside while capturing upside. Even so, cash alone plays only a tactical, not strategic role. This brings us to a crucial turning point, the myth that saving is the path to wealth. It's seductive because it feels safe. Anyone can tuck money away, watch it gather crumbs of interest, and sleep soundly. But financial comfort zones breed complacency. They lull you into believing you're doing enough, while inflation quietly erodes your buying power. In contrast, the richest pivot relentlessly. They see cash not as an end, but as a means fuel for acquisitions, RD, market expansion. When Jeff Bezos started Amazon, he initially invested his parents' savings into servers and warehouses. He believed in compounding growth more than compounding interest. $8 billion acquisitions later, Amazon is the world's most valuable retailer, but it never accumulated a massive cash hoard just for the sake of it. Every dollar was working. So what's the takeaway for you? First, build a safety net, 3 to 6 months of expenses in a highly liquid account. That's non-negotiable. But once that buffer exists, shift your focus to where money multiplies investments aligned with your knowledge, risk tolerance, and timeline. Consider starting a small side business, investing in index funds, exploring real estate crowdfunding, or educating yourself in entrepreneurial ventures. Leverage isn't the enemy. If used responsibly, a properly structured loan can be the difference between missing an opportunity and capturing outsized returns. And taxes defer them where you can through retirement vehicles, 1031 exchanges, or business deductions. Those saved taxes effectively act like an interest rate boost on your capital. When you embrace this mindset, even incrementally, you begin to think like the wealthy. You stop worrying about losing absolute safety and start evaluating risk versus reward. Each dollar in your account becomes an agent of change, whether that change is generating passive income, building equity, or funding a groundbreaking innovation. You begin to ask, what problem can I solve? What asset is undervalued? Where does my unique insight give me an edge? These questions drive action, and action drives wealth creation. Now take a moment and imagine your future self 5 years from now. You've moved beyond the treadmill of netting a few percent on a savings account. You've experimented, some ventures failed, others thrived, and you've learned. You own equity in projects you believe in, and those investments feed you dividends or let you reinvest for further growth. The safety net remains intact, but it's no longer your primary strategy. Your primary strategy is growth purposeful, informed, dynamic growth. That's how empires are built, how generational wealth launches, and how you break free from the slow drain of inflation. It's time to reframe saving not as hoarding, but as a preliminary step, a strategic pause before you launch capital into motion. The richest among us don't glorify their high-interest yield savings accounts. They glorify their returns on equities, real assets, private ventures, and intellectual property. They aren't risk junkies. They're calculated risk managers. And you can be too. What's the next move for you? Start by conducting a portfolio audit. Identify the idle cash that could be more productive. Research an asset class that intrigues you. Speak to a mentor or financial advisor about building a diversified strategy. Above all, shift your mindset from saving to deploying. Treat every dollar less as a sticky note in a ledger and more as a team member on your wealth-building mission. If you're ready to step off the sidelines, hit the subscribe button to keep learning with Mr. Finance. Share your experiences below. Have you ever let cash sit too long? What investment ignited your financial journey? Tell us in the comments because your story could be the spark someone else needs. Remember, money doesn't grow by stagnating. It flourishes when you send it into the arena, ready for challenge. So deploy wisely, deploy boldly, and let your capital begin its most exciting work yet.